is that this is the similar process that we use when we bring speakers to my class. These are the speakers that we had last year. These are all executive vice presidents. You will hear from Kartik in a few minutes, and he'll have a message for you. And you are able to see all these sessions are public if you go to the website where you found the questions at NYU. You will have a link to those recordings. And also on the YouTube channel, we are going to upload later on this recording and other presentations. So my colleagues are going to be managing this part, and you guys can go ahead and ask the questions, and then I'll go ahead and respond to them. Good job. I think the easiest way will be if, Kajal, you mentioned the name of the question that, sorry, the name of the student who will be asking the question.
Yes, hi, George. This is Anha. I think Kajal has internet issues. I'll be taking this forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So should I just mention the name of the student?
Yeah, that'll be the best. Yeah. 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 I'll go ahead and go to it. Yeah.
Ahnaf from Malaysia. Could you please ask your question? Ahnaf from Malaysia.
Harsh, you can go ahead.
Okay, sure. Hi, Mr. George. So often what I see, and this happens with various other business owners that I notice, they add many things under their company expenses. One of the examples that I see very frequently would be a company car. But why would they add a personal like car onto their own business expenses? What is the reason for that, and what is the benefit from doing so?
So if we go back to the business that Jenny has, right? She makes $3,000 per month. Now imagine that she was able to deduct all her car expenses, and they are $1,500. Then she will be able to reduce the amount of taxes she pays by 1/2. So you're trying to set up a business to do ads for real estate agents. If you were to charge to the business all the cost of you going and meeting with the real estate agents, then you will pay lower taxes. That's why they do it. Next.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Saanvi, you can go ahead.
Hello everyone. So I'm Saanvi. My question is that we've all read books like Rich Dad and Poor Dad. That's like the first book everybody suggests you to read if you like economics and finance. So I learned that investment is really important. But like my question is, how do we kickstart all that? Do we take loans? Do we ask money from our parents? How do we kickstart investment?
Right, Sabi. So what I would recommend is to do what I suggested today is first do research. I show you guys how to go and get research for free. Then the second thing is if you're able to save a few dollars and you're able to buy one share, you can buy it even if you're in another country. I show you the link on how international students or investors can buy through these US firms. But before you invest, please spend a lot of time doing research. That is free, right? And one principle that I would like to leave you with is try to oversave and underconsume. Save more money than you spend. That will be something that will be quite helpful. Next one.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Devyaan, you can ask.
I have a question I asked before, and that is, what is more important between invention and marketing?
Okay, and that question was from whom?
Subaha Khan.
Subaha.
I'm Subaha Tabassum Khan from Bangladesh.
Okay, so Subaha, would you repeat the question because I didn't hear it?
What is more important between invention and marketing?
That's a very good question. So, well, if you look at the data, it seems like marketing, the investment that companies are making in marketing is important, but it's not the main thing, right? So you need to have a good idea, right? And a good product and so on. You need to invent a good solution. Now, for some categories, marketing was more important. Cosmetics come to mind. So it will depend on the industry. Both are important. But when you're able to solve problems, that will enable you to sell many more units. Next one.
Devyaan, please go ahead.
Good evening to all. So my question is regarding plagiarism. So personally experiencing it, how can one make sure someone doesn't steal our idea, like when we publish it on social media?
Okay, so what I will recommend that you do is to document it, right? So what I tell my students, and if you go on the internet, you will be able to see all the business plan that they have made. And you will notice that at the end on each slide, they have a copyright sign. And I tell them, do that. Say, this was me, the one who made that slide. So I will say, do that. So you have this idea of how to clean up the Middle River so that it can be used for fishing, agriculture, and tourism, and how to then teach people how to go into agriculture and so on. This meeting is being recorded. Now you'll be able to prove to everyone else that it was your idea. Next.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Neeraj?
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Neeraj. So I've noticed that when you want to get money to start your company or stuff, you go to these investors. But then they don't just invest. They say, your idea is great, but you need to do this, this, this. So my question is how to get the money to start and run such a company, but without losing my freedom to make my own decision.
This one is tricky. You want to create a research-based consulting company. What you could do is you could tell those private investors, listen, I commit to delivering these results, but I will have the final say so on how to manage the business. When you're small, it's easier. When you get big, it gets much harder, right? Because then everybody wants to get involved and so on. Particularly in private equity is less bad, but even then. Now, there are companies like Berkshire Hathaway where we have 450,000 employees and only 20 people at headquarters telling others what to do. So if you pick your partners well, it'll be easier for you to keep more control on the company. Still, if you go and you ask for money, you have to agree to let them others share their opinion. Okay, next.
Aanya?
Good evening, sir. So I had a question, like how do we target our ideal customers?
How do we target ideal customers? Can you tell me more about what you mean so I understand better the question?
For our product, we have to reach to a particular audience so that they become our consumers of a product. So how do we find those people? Like, how do we reach out to them?
So Anya, your idea is to sell baking kits, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, look, in that specific case, you could try to use social media because it's free. And I know one company that is doing that and is very successful, but we go back to what I said before. You have to make good cookies, right? You want people to tell others the cookies that Anya makes or the baking goods that she makes are delicious, they're incredible. And then one will tell the other. That will be the most effective way for your line of business.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Next.
Saksham, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. My name is Saksham. My question to you is, what are the problems faced by startups in their primary stages, and how do you recommend tackling them?
So yes, there are a number of problems that typically, startups have. And I would say that one good way to go about it is to have a good process, right? And to see what it will take to be successful. Now, in general, when we look at the data for companies in the US, the main three problems that they have. I was trying to look for your business idea. Okay,
Sure,
I'll go.
I have it right there if you want me to tell you about it.
Well, we won't have time now, but I'll give you the three main concepts. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you do a lot of research, right? So the reasons to fail or why they fail is lack of research, cash flow, and then burnout. So regarding lack of research, you want to make sure that you know why people will buy from you using the template that we have provided and how you're going to sell it and so on. Regarding cash flow, you want to make sure that you have enough cash to survive. And the other thing that you want to watch out is that people who own their own business, the data show they work longer hours. So you have to be aware of it when you go into your own business. Next one.
Kanav?
Hello, sir. So my question was that what are some skills one can develop during the education that might help them be a successful entrepreneur?
Well, if in terms of skills, I would say that everyone nowadays wants to make an app, right? So most of you want to make apps, and we don't have enough people trained on how to write code to make apps. So you probably want to go into that, right? In terms of hard skills and so on, to learn how to code to make apps. But the other two things that I will recommend that you try to learn in school is one, how to use the resources that you have to do research. In many schools, you have libraries or many things that others don't have. So do research, with the resources that you have in your school. And the other thing that I would recommend that you do is to practice this idea of how not to burn out. So in school, you have many different projects and clubs and organizations that you want to join. Try to get used to it, right? So that when you have your own business and you have all that pressure, you'll know how to go about it. Next one.
Lucca from Argentina, you can go ahead.
Thank you. So my question is, in your experience, what would you say that are the 5 aspects that should be paid the most attention in order to build a company from scratch?
Well, I would say that the first group will be this idea of a lack of research, right? So using our template, the idea of why will someone buy it, where are you going to sell it, how much are you going to charge for it, how are you going to sell it? What I do when I buy companies is I pretend to be a customer. So I go and I try to buy a product from them. I go to their competitors and I see what are they selling. If I was to buy a bakery, I would probably go and try to work in a bakery for one day to learn as an employee what are all the problems that they have. So that research, which you can do for free, it just costs you time, has been very successful when I buy companies. Regarding cash flow, today you guys learn how to calculate revenue, costs, and expenses. I would say spend quite a bit of time on that, quite a bit of time on thinking about how you're going to manage the risk of burnout, right? And because you're going to be working so many hours, you may be exhausted, and to be aware of it. And then probably the other two things will be to sort of have this process checked. And that is, you should say to yourself, okay, I'm choosing to own this business, but if I chose to work, how much money will I be making? And then set a target for 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. And then you want to make sure that in your business, you make more money than A, you would have made if you would have worked, or B, now you know how much money you will make if you own the S&P 500. The number is easy to remember. It's the bad luck number, 13%. So you have to make 13% per year, right? If not, you might as well just buy the market. That will be my advice. Next one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shreenaya, you can go ahead.
Hello. So my question is that, so you have been working and talking to many people and many clients, and I wanted to, like, could you share with me a trend or a pattern that you have noticed that has contributed to their individual businesses' growth?
Yeah, so again, definitely you want to delight your customers, right? So your idea is to create a website so that students can talk to professionals on a one-on-one basis. In all the companies that we own, where customers are delighted, we make a lot more money. Look, I'll tell you how I pick the speakers that I bring to my classes. I have about 16,000 senior executives as contacts on LinkedIn. And I make sure that I only bring in people that care about all of you. I mean, you will have later on a CFO with a company with over $10 billion of revenue who has taken the time to talk to all of you, right? So that you can only do when you take the time, when you make the effort to delight your customers. I'm using a real life example to make it better for you. I received about 300 business proposals and over 300 questions. You got an answer from me. Yeah, the emails that went back to you, I wrote them myself. So when you do all that to delight your customers, in this example, you guys are my customer, it's highly likely that you're going to do well. And then one will tell the other, listen, go to this website on counseling and so on, because the quality of what you're going to get is really, really high. Next one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Aditya, you can go ahead.
Hi, so my question for you is that if you have an idea which may be successful, but it's impossible to carry out by myself, should I seek help from someone or think of a new idea?
Yeah, so let's use the example of your idea, right? Eco bricks made from recycled plastic. What I will give you is 2 suggestions. The first one is do research. I want you to talk to other people what you were suggesting, and then to go and look at all the companies which are making something similar and try to look at what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, how they're being successful, and what are the problems that they have. And the other thing that I suggest to people to do is to have many different ideas, to plant seeds, right? So when we created this event, we didn't know what would attract 470 students. Maybe it was the idea that this was like a college discussion, right, at the master's level. Maybe some of you wanted to create a business for profit and make money. Maybe some of you wanted to create an NGO. Maybe some of you wanted to ask questions. So what I did is I created something for all of you. I planted different seeds, right? And when I read your feedback, I'll be able to tell what was it that actually attracted you to join this event. So I would say in the beginning, try to plant different seeds, right? And then you'll be able to see what is going to work best.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Next one.
Prima, you can go ahead.
Hi, so my question is, do you believe that expanding a company globally before reaching a company nationwide is better, or vice versa?
So the tricky part about this is that I don't believe in borders, right? I think that we should be able to ship our products anywhere in the world, or at least within a region like we do in the European Union, where there are no borders. The same with people, right? So I'm more global. Now, what I sell is expertise, right? I'm a CFO. And to some extent, your idea is a bit like that, right? So your biodegradable water bottle idea will have a large component of know-how, of knowing how to do it. So the thing that you have to be aware of. So the good news is that, yeah, you could sell that know-how to anyone and everyone, not only to people in the United States. The tricky part, though, is that it's a lot of work. In my case, I created the site in Spanish, and I sent back all the emails in Espanol. It was a lot of work, right? So you have to be willing to do all that work. But if you believe in more of a global concept, I would say, yeah, try to go ahead and not think in terms of borders. But if you're willing to do that additional extra effort to sell internationally, I will try to sell internationally even before I have perfected this event just for the US. Next one.
George, we have the final question from Azamat.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, that's me. Azamat, hi George once more.
Hi.
Great presentation, really enjoyed it. Really enjoy seeing you. And my question is, like, you traveled to, I guess, 193, maybe a bit more countries, more than 190 countries, let's say. And which countries, and maybe especially some cities or towns, maybe like gave you the most experience, and you wish you really lived there and worked there and like built your family there? Because as I'm gonna graduate in college in a few years, I want to plan ahead, you know. Thank you.
Yeah, so it will depend on what you want to do in your career, right? So my answer will be specifically for you. You have this idea of creating a trading system, and you are now in Kazakhstan or in Russia. Based on that, I would say you probably want to spend some time in Dubai, because they have a very good infrastructure to drive that. And you really want to work in the US, right? In the US, and I'm not American, so this is not arrogant of me saying so. They do have the best systems for trading. You see that you can trade for free. Very few countries will have anything close to that. And it'll be very easy for you to learn and to get information and so on. So in your case, or your business idea, will pick those two markets.
Okay, splendid. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, we can take, it's 10:52. We could take one or two more questions, if there are any.
Can I ask?
George, we have questions from...
Hello, George. I have a question.
Okay, how do we do it? So why don't we do this? Why don't, so I let my colleague, because she's able to see the chat, I'm not. Will you recognize, so to speak, or tell which student can go ahead with the question?
Sure. So
Hello,
George,
John. I have a question.
Can't tell who was that.
Okay, Chetna, why don't you ask your question, and then George, I can call out whoever is asking.
Okay, okay, thanks. Yeah. All right, so Chetna is, there you are. I see you. Go ahead.
Okay. George, I have a question for you, that how can we make a company franchisee?
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Would you repeat?
How can we make our company as a franchisee, or
so what I heard was whether
like
you
a
want
McDonald's?
Okay, all right. So would you be the one buying the franchise from McDonald's, or you want to create, franchises and be McDonald's?
I want to create a franchisee. Like, I want to create my own brand in my hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I create my hotel in a franchisee?
So the way to consider whether to buy it from you is you have to prove to me that if I buy it from you, if rather than starting my own company or my own hotel, if this is a hotel, I am a franchisee of you. One, I'll be able to make more money. I'll be able to sell more hotel rooms if it's a hotel, or more units in general. Unless you're able to prove that, why will I buy it from you? The other thing that you could argue is that you will have processes where you will show me how to do it and make more money. And if I do it myself, I won't know how to do it. In the US, there are more regulations. So companies are forced to give the name of 10 franchisees, and people can talk to them and see why did they fail, because many franchisees actually fail. So if you want to create your own business and have franchisees, you have to think from their point of view and not from yours. And that is, why will I buy it from you? Next one.
Francesca, you can go ahead.
Thank you, George.
If we have an idea, how do we develop it and reach out to companies or investors?
So for whatever idea you have, I will go ahead and use that concept, right, of doing research, of looking for companies with a similar idea, and then try to see how they go about it. So the concept will be to try to learn what are the things which haven't been met, right? If there is a need from consumers and they are not addressing that, or if they have pain points, right? Imagine that one of the problems that we have with Zoom, as an example, is that people cannot translate. Then you come up with that idea. You say, oh, I'll be able to, it's much easier to sell something that is solving a problem that people have. So I will go with that. I will try to do research, try to get numbers, right? Because you'll be more credible, and then pitch it to investors like that.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next one.
Votey from Cambodia.
So hello, I have a question as well. And my question is, does an individual have to have a high knowledge about the industry that they are doing the business in? Like, for example, if I am interested in doing or owning a cosmetic brand, do I have to know about cosmetology? Thank you.
It will help, right? So I will definitely try to do as much research as I can, because it's free. Sorry that I keep arguing the same thing, and if I can, I will try to work for one of these companies, right? Because you want to learn all the problems that they have. But having said that, do you have to have it? No, you don't. It helps a lot if you do, but no, you don't. Next one.
Asees, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir, for this presentation. I think all of us learned a lot. So my question is, for a startup, is it profitable if we aim to open more branches at once with the help of investors, rather than continuing with a single branch and expanding over time?
It's tricky, because what you have to think about is, what are you giving in exchange, right? So think about it like this: when you bring an investor, you're giving away part of your company. Now, the tricky part is that in the beginning, you're not making that much money. So if you give 1/2 to someone else, they're not going to pay you so much. And later on, when you're successful, that 1/2 is going to be worth a lot more. So it's real tricky. I will try, if I could, in the beginning, to limit the amount of investors that I bring in, to try to own as much as I possibly can. But bearing in mind that to survive, I will need cash. So one of the principles that I like to tell students that I follow is that first we make money and then we spend it. So the idea is, let me use a silly analogy. When you buy a membership at a gym, some people, they go and they buy the tennis shoes and all the new wear and so on. And I will tell them, no, listen, go and use your membership for 6 months and then buy the tennis shoes. Because statistically what happens is that many people, they buy all that and then they quit, right? So the same thing here. In the beginning, try to limit the amount of money that you spend. Try to sell first and then invest later. In global companies, what we do is, before we build a factory, we use someone else to produce for us. And then once we know that it's working, then we build our own factories.
All right,
And
thank you.
You're welcome. We can take maybe one more and then we go to the last part.
Okay, Ritigya, you can go ahead.
My question is, what are ways to identify a new market?
So I will probably look at what are, I suppose by market, you mean an idea that you want to sell, right?
Yes.
Okay, sometimes we use market by, we call countries markets. So I wanted to double check. So what you want to do is, again, you want to try to find things which are not solved yet, opportunities in terms of products or services, right? And to say, okay, how can I provide that product or service to consumers? Someone said the other day, this is a very senior person who has 14 million followers, and it's a he. He said publicly that he goes to 43 Facebook groups to listen to people. I thought, Jesus, when does he add that? So, there are many things that now with social media we can do for free to get more consumer insights and learn from them. So thank you very much for all these great questions. This is going to